quite the race.
Ask not what your
Hulkenback
can do for you.
on the track. Ooh, all right, welcome.
Man, that sounds good.
Sounds so good. Welcome
good.
to the Haas Boys, the American F1 podcast.
Thanks, Max.
I am Max, your host, and I have Mike on my right.
Yo.
I have Parker on my left.
Yeah.
And we are talking about all the things that happened
All of them, Max?
at the Bahrain Grand Prix.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
The first race of the season happened. It
did.
seemed like it was the longest break in the world to me. It was
did.
almost years without races.
It felt very long this year.
And so it was just a wonderful oasis of just track and racing
Is that
and
something
cars.
about Bahrain? Was that like a comment about the desert?
Yeah, it's a desert.
Oh,
It's a
it
desert
is.
theme.
It really was. I feel like it was the longest break ever. How
Yeah.
long is the break, actually? How many months is that?
It starts in, well, maybe part of the reason why we feel like it was long is that they raced so deep into the year for COVID. So I know that we're a few years past that, but in 2020, I feel like they raced into December.
Okay.
And I feel like they might have even last year.
It seems like it was almost December, the last race. Right?
Yeah. So I don't know. Usually it is at least 3 months. I know that much.
It's just too
It
long.
felt like ages.
It did feel
It was fun
forever.
It was fun to hear David Croft's voice again.
Yes, the old Crofty.
The old Crofty. Fun to see those cars again. They look amazing.
They
Some
do
more
look
than
great.
others.
I mean, I already have a beef with AlphaTauri because from certain angles, they look exactly like Haas.
Yeah.
It's a white nose and they have red letter on their fin.
Yeah.
And I thought it was Haas every time it came around the track.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
But Ferrari looks so good.
Yeah.
It does.
I love that Ferrari's on the back there.
Too bad it's broken
Yeah.
and not fast.
Yeah, let's get into the race. Do you want to
All
start
right.
at qualifying
Or should
or
we start with
practice?
qualifying?
Or there's a lot that kind of happened this weekend.
I mean,
Right.
qualifying was ridiculously exciting for me.
How so?
I mean, Nico qualified 6th,
Right.
except he violated track limits once.
Right.
So if he was like inches away from qualifying 6th
So cool.
on his first race back
Hell
in
yeah.
a Haas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's insane.
That's insane.
It is a really huge feat that he
Yeah.
accomplished.
I was freaking out of that.
I feel like both Kevin and Hulk can be proud of their return to Haas, maiden races, because Kevin got 5th in his first one back, right, last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Hulk, he showed up in every practice and qualifying session and was just hammering in the lap times.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the race in a
Yeah.
minute.
Yeah. Because there's stuff that
Because
happened.
there was things that happened there to kind of unfortunately undo the good result for qualifying.
Yeah. It's too bad.
But also, alternatively, the other news from qualifying that no one could stop talking about was the dark horse,
Of.
Fernando.
Yeah.
He's been the star this whole weekend.
He has been, and I have a feeling he may not fall out of the headlines at all this year because
With a car like that.
it just seems
Yeah.
like it's just as competitive as at least Ferrari, which
Yeah.
is
He just overtook Sainz in the race. Yeah,
Right.
he was crushing it. So that
And-
car. And Lance was not far behind.
no. I mean, I'll give him credit that
Yeah.
with a broken hand,
And
managed to top 10
and a draining battery in that brain. He still managed to pull that car
Still
around.
managed to quiet quit while having a broken hand.
Well, he's lighter.
Yeah, he's lighter. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he's losing battery fluid. He's lighter.
oh, it's to his advantage.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, he ran a great race actually, despite the injury. But the qualifying session came down to the fact that we were just seeing something that I didn't feel like we've been seeing last year, at least, which was that there was more to play for everyone. And I felt like testing.
What do you mean by that?
There was just the volatility of where you qualified was within a second.
Yeah.
And that is insane. In Q1, it was like people were being eliminated within a second of each other.
So previous years, it's been more than like a
Larger
second.
gaps, yeah,
Oh,
for
okay.
sure.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool to see just how equal the midfield is. And then it was really cool to see, obviously, that this dark horse that everyone keeps kind of joking that Aston Martin is the new Braun GP, to be the not big team that's playing with big team potential.
Cool.
Right? And so to see them be able to bring it to them, but also see the rest of the field kind of really bunched together. And again, part of the reason why Magnussen and Hulk and there's some volatility in that qualifying was just based off of the fact of like, if you missed it by just small margins, you were out.
Yeah.
And Kevin unfortunately got stuck behind traffic on his Q1 lap.
Oh, is that what happened?
And he got eliminated because of it, which was a bummer.
Yikes.
That is a bummer.
But he'd been running great all weekend, and so unfortunately it just didn't play the cards in his favor.
We have plenty of races left this season.
Totally.
Different track styles, so we have more to look forward to for sure.
Definitely.
But yeah, not good qualifying.
Yeah,
But still, 10. Nico at 10 is not bad for
Not
his
bad,
first race
yeah.
back, and then close to being 6th.
totally.
It's great.
I feel like we didn't really see the potential of the Haas this weekend for race pace. So I'm really interested to see how they look in Saudi Arabia, as well as Saudi Arabia is more of a road course or like more like street circuit. So I think, Bahrain's a little bit more wide and has a lot more
There are some long straightaways on that track. Holy cow.
And Red Bull is super fast
Holy crap.
on the straightaways
Yeah,
right now. So this track could bring a full new roll of the dice for the grid.
Yeah.
So I think Haas could have a shot in Saudi Arabia to have a really good result. But anyways, Bahrain, we had some bad luck, but I got to say it. You guys want to hear my diagnostic?
Yeah.
That's my new favorite way of saying
Diagnostic. Yeah.
It's different.
for sure. My diagnosis of what went wrong.
For Haas.
Yes.
Well, okay. Yeah, let's hear it. It's there.
It's the same thing as last year. Why are we playing the lucky card?
Oh.
They both started on the hard tire. And the goal with that is that if a safety car happens in the first lap, then you don't have to pit. And everybody else will to go get new tires, and then you'll be on the optimal tire already, putting us in a good position.
Yeah.
You think they're banking on someone crashing that first lap?
Yes. I think that's what their assumption was. Is
Which,
what
based
percentage,
on the past 2 years,
Yeah.
yeehaw, that's a good bet.
right?
Yeah.
So what percentage is likely that we're going to get a safety car in the first few laps?
Nico was on a hard tire too.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't see it. I knew Kevin was. He started on hards.
So both of them kind of had a crappy start. Nico kind of fell like a rock because everyone around him was on a better tire. I think everyone else started on the soft.
Yeah.
So essentially, I feel like Haas has been playing kind of the gamble game in that way with strategy a little too much. And I think it would have been a lot better to just be less creative if Hulk would have started on the soft. I'd be very curious of where he would have ended up.
If we have a competitive car, let's do what the competitive teams are doing.
Correct.
Right. And it makes sense for a less competitive car that's ambitious. So we have Williams, not competitive, not ambitious.
Right.
You have Haas of the past 5 years, which is not competitive, super ambitious.
Right.
And that makes sense. It's like, we don't have a shot.
Right.
Let's just shoot the moon every time. But they're competitive now.
Yeah.
So why not just play it straight down the middle and
Do what everyone else is doing.
And do what everybody else is doing and just play like you have a great car.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so I feels like that's where the mistake came from, in my opinion, for this race. But otherwise, super fun race to watch for everything else that was going on.
Nico also had a damage at the beginning. He had like a wing that exploded.
Yeah, he did have contact with somebody at the beginning of the race
not
as
good
well.
too.
Yeah, so was it Lewis? I'm just kidding.
Probably.
No meatball flags this race. So
I think that played into a lot of it. Damage and then having to pit to replace that.
right.
It always sucks.
Totally.
So just a bad strategy call and then a wreck and then
Yeah. And then just
What
kind
do you
of
do?
misfortune for the first race for sure. From there, I think the other thing that we can note for the beginning of the season is that congratulations, Max Verstappen, on your third championship.
Jeez, right?
It's over.
This
It's
better not
over.
be that season.
It's over.
Man, are we going to have to hate Max now?
I think so.
I mean, yeah. He's getting cocky, and it's as soon as he starts being blessed on the radio, as V says that we have been blessed, or like,
okay. If he
Hashtag
says
blessed.
blessed, then we'll hate him. But if he doesn't say blessed, then he's good.
he's good,
then he can
All
continue.
right,
our-
all right, Haas Boys listeners, you can hold us to that.
Oh yeah, it's not fun when there's just a runaway
We gotta
car.
put a blessed meter on the board.
He's getting closer.
He's getting more and
feeling
more blessed. No, let's hope he doesn't say it. He's getting more blessed.
Do you think that there is I mean, is there a hope? I'm thinking there's a hope for me that Sergio Perez might be able to take competition to Max.
Right.
At least there would be a competition there that we could watch. That would be thrilling.
Oh, that'd be great.
And what is the likelihood that Ferrari could just step it up and start cruising, you know?
Dude, I feel like
What do you
like
think?
there's some possibility.
I mean, I think it's going to be track
Dumbo,
specific.
Clown boy, Stinky Bonotto.
Dumbo, Clown Boy, Stinky Bonotto. All hyphened.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it seems as though, to me, the Ferrari is pretty far off the pace.
Really?
Making up a deficit like
That's
that is
so sad.
really, really hard. And so, like, they would need a silver bullet, something that's just going to be the upgrade that matches the Red Bull, and a 30-second over a race deficit, which
Right.
is huge. The tire degradation on the Red Bull was like minimal; it didn't happen at all.
Holy crap.
And so, you know,
Wow.
Max was.
How do you know that?
This part of what they were saying about testing in practice is that they were like, everyone's worried that Red Bull's going to run away with it because
Their
the
deg is
tire.
so low.
Yeah,
They
the
haven't
tire
changed
deg is
tires
just-
all week.
He's wearing the same socks. It's getting stinky.
Wow.
So, but yeah, they literally have they're like, because they measure all that, and a lot of the teams are a little bit spy-y with that, right? We want
Yeah.
to see who's dealing with what, and Red Bull just had minimal degradation. So it just seems like the Red Bull car's really dialed. So the likelihood of them being caught is not super great.
So, predictions for 2023. We've got a Max Verstappen win. Checo's battling Max throughout. That's going to be really fun to watch. Maybe Haas, Ferrari are moving up, 2 and 3
Right.
2 and 3 places throughout the year, and we just watch Toto completely implode.
Well, that's the other
because
news.
he's going to get the season that Red Bull has had over the past 4 and 5 years.
Yeah.
Right.
He's going to get the treatment back.
Yeah.
Right.
Where Red Bull is just so far out
Yep.
Right.
that they can't even be touched.
Right.
And he's just going to implode.
Yeah.
Well, and a part of me is like, I'm cheering for Toto to figure it
Yeah.
out. Because I'm like, I don't want Max
Because
to
in
run
the
away
end,
with
what
it.
we want is an exciting championship the
Right.
whole season.
Yeah.
Right.
Coming down to the last race, if it was between like 3 or 4 teams, I would lose my
Incredible.
mind.
Yeah.
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 And that was one of Vettel's championships, right? That's how he won. It was more than one person up for the grabs.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I mean, I think even just to talk about Mercedes for a second, it was said by Toto, they're done with the zero pod car.
What is that? Or like
They're
the
throwing it away.
The AirPod things?
No, yeah, the side pods.
That's our like.
See how they're like vertical as opposed to
Because
horizontal.
every team has like those like AirPods that are like coming out.
Side
Right.
pods, yeah.
And then Mercedes is just flat. It's like the
Air inlet side pods.
yeah.
Not AirPods.
AirPods are made by Apple.
Okay,
are
well,
the
you
things you
guys
put in your-
suck. I'm speaking for the man who doesn't know Formula One.
Can you play Lizzo on those AirPods?
you got there?
AirPods?
No, so
You guys are the worst.
so the zero pod that has been the concept for the last year, and then they came back with
I've
this
checked
year.
out until you guys talk about something else.
He's so mad.
Yeah.
Toto has said that they are moving past this design. They can't push it any further. They
Wow,
have now
that's so
proven
brave
it.
of him. A year and a half after losing
Well, like,
every
that's-
race,
I feel
he's,
like
he's
that's-
like, we have come to the decision that
This
the
car
AirPods
sucks.
shall not be used.
I've gone around to the other teams and asked them to go to zero pod. They all said no. Fix your car.
Right.
I'm like, play the game.
I mean,
Play my game.
for the
It's like, wow, so brave, Toto, and very smart that you decided to stop doing the thing that was completely different from everybody else
Right.
when you were losing, when you shouldn't have been
I wonder
losing.
what data he's been given.
well,
He's like Vladimir Putin. Everybody's just like, no, it's a good idea. Like, the zero pod is so good. I don't know why we're losing. I've decided to remove the zero pod.
everyone. Yeah. I mean,
Like, what?
So
Why did
for-
it take you this long?
for sake of conversation and that actual discussion, last year Toto made the gripe, right? So the room of team principals on Drive to Survive is they were all sitting around talking about bouncing.
Yeah.
And Toto was the one that pushed forward that the side skirts and the whole floor of the car had to be raised 50 millimeters or whatever it was, because they were trying to eliminate porpoising. And that was the whole politicizing the regs.
Should we play it really quick?
To try and get it so Mercedes had the advantage because they knew that the floor 50 millimeters higher would benefit them more than the other teams. So Toto last year pushed this forward to be like, we're going to have to change the cars next year a lot for them to work with this new regulation. And so Red Bull's advantage this year will kind of dissipate, and they'll have to kind of start from a little bit of zero.
So basically, Toto Wolff made a bad design decision.
Right.
Tried to get everyone to change their cars so that it wouldn't be a bad decision.
It worked in the sense that the FIA went with it and said, sure, next year you have to have the floor 50 millimeters higher.
And then everyone's
he
still
shows up
crushing him.
this year, and his car's fourth fastest at best.
Oh, jeez.
Gosh, that
And so
backfired. Should we play that clip for
Really
the
painful.
listeners?
Yeah, go ahead.
The listeners that haven't heard it yet.
I can tell you that all of you are playing a dangerous game. If a car ends in the wall because it's too stiff or it's bottoming out, you're in the shit, and I'm gonna come after you. Because we are removing the stiff. Wait a second, I'm talking.
Hang on, are we playing to the cameras here? Or I think this is probably better off camera than...
No, I don't care. If you think this is a little game on performance, I tell you, you are very, very wrong.
Safety is a matter of team responsibility, braking system, steering
Absolutely.
system,
Each
suspension.
of
It's all about
you
safety.
has done something to limit the problem. Congratulations.
Well, change your car. You've got a problem. Change your f***ing car.
Then you change your car because Checo has been saying the car is
No,
your
he
driver has
hasn't.
been going out.
Speak to my drivers.
Checo has been on the record and is in the
Okay, let's go and get them.
Yeah. I have it printed out.
Very good.
Guys, sorry. We will make sure that we FIA, we will discuss that in the proper way. Time to go on the track. Thank you.
Time to go purposing.
Amazing. So he begged and begged. He got the reg, and he is falling places.
Right.
So funny.
So he's counterproductive to what Formula One is trying to do, which is like, how can we get to the edge of physics and create the best car and test
ways,
technology, come up with technology to because that's what Formula One kind of tries to convince other people, that we're doing this to learn more things
They're
about
trying
cars.
to convince people,
Yeah.
but not well.
Yeah.
for production cars.
Yeah. But in a sense, he's like taking us back a step. He's like, I
Right.
couldn't figure this out, so no
We
one
can't do this.
is allowed to.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is dumb.
Well, and it backfired. But also, let's go ahead and just move down to the next team.
The one that is flying, that is what I think is gunning for position.
Oh, yeah.
But it's last position.
They're gunning for the wrong position.
They are fighting for last place on the grid and
Oh,
succeeding
boy.
brilliantly.
Brilliantly.
Poor McLaren.
Man,
is that what you're going to talk
yikes.
about?
That's who I was going for
Yeah,
next.
they have aimed their sights and they're hitting that target.
Yeah.
All I've got
They're
is
coming for you, Williams. They're coming for your seat.
everyone has a target on the back of this next year.
Even Williams, it
because we're
seems.
in the back. So
Yeah.
everyone has a target on their back because we start last.
Yeah.
No, so I mean, to me, here's the thing. Let's go back on a journey. Just a small journey. Can you play some Zelda music for me?
Yeah.
So, back in 2014. No,
Just like a time wipe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
George
We're
Lucas
here.
time wipe.
So Zach Brown took over McLaren after Ron Dennis was pushed out by the board of McLaren. Ron Dennis had been running the team and the company for years. Ron is the person who found Lewis.
Gotcha. I remember
He worked
that.
with Ayrton Senna. He was legendary, very involved in McLaren for a very long time.
Okay.
Zach Brown took over. Since Zach has been at McLaren, they had the Honda McLaren debacle, which was some of the worst performance and horrible reliability that the sport has seen since turbo hybrid was introduced. Fernando Alonso called it the GP2 engine. That was very controversial.
That's
and
funny.
the car retired almost more than it finished. And so
Oh, dang.
it was a disaster. Then they switched to a Renault engine, only to then switch to a Mercedes engine and have come close to becoming the third team in the Constructors' Championship a couple of times, and I think they might have even succeeded once.
Yeah, they did.
On the bad Ferrari year. But since then have done nothing but just never be consistent.
Yeah.
And with the type of track record that we have now with blaming drivers, blaming engine manufacturers, but never pointing the finger back at themselves.
There is one consistent thread, apparently, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Is that McLaren's in big trouble, and I think the big trouble starts with Zach.
Which is a shame.
Very interesting.
Because isn't McLaren one of the most winning teams in history?
It was, for sure.
It was until whoever passed them did it.
Yeah.
Wow, that was
profound.
That was awesome.
Again,
it's a good statement.
So what about those AirPods?
Okay, he's right.
He's right.
He's right now.
Yeah.
After saying that, it's interesting. I guess I'd never thought of Zach as a stinky team principal like Binotto. But I'm looking back at like the Daniel Ricciardo stuff, and I'm like, maybe he doesn't got it.
Right.
Like maybe Zach is not.
Well, and he's not the team principal. That's the other part of this problem, is he's the CEO.
Yeah, which is very interesting because he's acting like team principal.
Yeah, and it's like, well, maybe you're a little too involved.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you need to do some other things and allow this to be done by the F1 side.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I mean, he probably pioneered that amazing changing ad screen on their cars.
Right.
Man,
I can tell you right
everyone's
now.
roasting them about that.
I can tell you right now that was 100% Zach. It's the king of ads.
Yeah.
Zach Brown was the one who signed the deal between UPS, Ray-Ban, Shell, and Ferrari as their sponsors.
That's crazy.
That's what his background was in.
And so if you're listening and you haven't seen it, there are little changing computer screens on the car.
Like Kindle screens.
Yeah, Kindle screens, and the sponsor will change. The logo will change throughout the race. It's like, how much does that weigh? How much development went into that?
Right.
Yeah.
When that could have just gone into the power engine and to the aerodynamics.
Yeah, and how much battery does it steal?
That's
Yeah.
probably why Lando's punching walls.
Right.
It's because he knows.
And he signed like a 5-year contract or something. Like
Yeah.
he's there for a while.
Just getting hosed right now.
Sorry, Lando. Anyway, Zach Brown's a stinky.
Yeah, he's a big old stinky butt. Guess who's
Not
coming
my
out?
American.
Not my American
in F1.
CEO.
Nope.
I guess we're going back. I mean, our next best is Schneikenauer.
Schenkenhauer.
Gunter's American at this point.
He
Let's
is.
just-
He
he lives here.
That's true. So
Guess who's coming out majorly on top
Alonso?
for all this is Danny Ricciardo.
Daniel Ricciardo,
Again,
for real. Yeah.
Sitting on a beach with 18 million and just watching Lando punching walls and then putting electronic ads on their car. Like, nice.
And I don't know what's going to happen with Red Bull. Who's to say? But if Checo loses his seat and Daniel is put in that seat, Daniel has the fastest car on the grid.
Right.
Yeah. That is nuts.
Yeah. And all we need is just one little Nancy Kerrigan incident. And I've heard it's not that expensive
We're not
or hard.
saying that's
You
going to
should.
happen or that anyone should.
But you could. And this would be the result.
If there's any Daniel Ricciardo fans out there, that
with a lead club,
that potentially could happen. But no one should do that.
But there isn't a rumor in the paddock about that one. Yeah.
There isn't. There isn't.
I heard there was. And they said anybody who does that.
Too bad they banned that team principal from races too. Who was it?
Flavio Briatore.
Yeah, is he allowed to attend races again?
They did lift his ban.
So he's back.
He just needs to attend one.
So shady.
Poor Sergio. He doesn't deserve this.
Wait, why not Max?
Oh, that's true.
He should just it should be
he's
Max.
got 2
We
championships.
like
Yes.
Checo.
Yeah, we do like Checo. If Max says blessed, you know who we're calling.
We're making one call.
Flavio Briatore. Plan L.
Plan Flavio.
Plan Lead Club.
Speaking of Plan Alonso, Fretch, dude.
Yeah.
I mean,
Fun, overtaking race to watch for him.
super cool to see Alonso in a car that can attack.
And him, it was very fun to watch him say the first positive thing I've ever heard him say.
Right.
Which is, this is a lovely car to drive.
Right.
He's never said anything that wasn't just so mad.
Just angry all the time.
This is a lovely car to drive. How's Lance?
Yeah.
He also has a German accent now.
Yeah.
Oh, this car. It is a dream.
Dream to drive. How's my friend Lance? Comrade.
Do you know something that's really interesting that I heard is that apparently Oscar Piastri made this evaluation of Fernando Alonso after working with him and getting to know him, is that Fernando uses 25% of his brain to drive, which he does almost as like muscle memory and just kind of reaction. And then he uses the other 75% of his brain to just process and think.
And plan ahead and strategize.
That's why he's so good. I mean, that pass that he had on Lewis in this race was one of the best overtakes I've seen in Bahrain.
Back
ever.
and forth for a little bit and then slipped around him.
Yeah, and just in the hairpin,
good.
in a moment that Lewis didn't expect him to try that.
Yeah.
It was really good.
He's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I'm like, he's very calculated. He's a very strong driver as it is. But man, just to see him in something competitive, I'm so stoked.
Yeah.
And he did, he got Carlos Sainz too.
Yeah.
He was playing in the back of Carlos Sainz, and Carlos just kind of locked up for a second. It was over.
Which we already know that he
gnarly
sucks
bump.
under pressure.
Carlos. Yeah. Love him. But he does struggle.
Under pressure, yeah.
Especially when it's his idol behind him.
Right. He's like, no, Fernando.
Fernando. We're from the
For Spain. For Spain.
Not now.
He's like crying. He just like lifts a tiny Spanish flag out of the car. Please.
Not for me, brother. Do it for please. Do not do this. Do
it for España.
Oh man! And then it was so fun. Even the commentators, after Alonso got out of the car, after getting third and being on the podium, he was just stoked and like alive.
Yeah.
And they even commented, they're like, "It's like Alonso won the race," because Max is like, "This is number 36.
Oh,
This is
and
the first
totally
of 25 this season."
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Where's my water bottle? I'll go in the room. It's just like this is. That's why like. A lot of my beef with Lewis comes in is because when he was just winning and winning and winning, it was like, gets out of the car. I want to thank the factory. Everyone back in the house. It's just like, and he gets on the podium and
it's like rehearsed.
It's like, man.
Yeah.
And then when he got on the podium in Silverstone or something, he was so stoked.
Yeah.
I was like, I love it when the drivers have earned it and they feel it and they're happy.
Yeah.
Totally.
So much more fun.
It is for sure.
Not just a job.
Yeah. And so, I mean, and again, here's my last statement that I'll say about the race before we move on. But I think here's what it is. Last year, we thought that Ferrari was going to take it. It was Charles Leclerc's championship to lose.
Yeah.
The first two races of the season, Ferrari just looked like they were dominant.
That's true.
And by Australia, Red Bull had turned the corner on development, and it was game over from there. So there is a possibility.
It's not doom and gloom yet.
It is. There is not.
Ferrari getting their act together?
It's possible.
Yeah.
But we'll say it's a little bit of a longer shot, knowing that Red Bull has Adrian Newey and not Ferrari.
What is going on right now? Like, just the past 8 years, it's kind of been one team or the other.
Right.
Like, what's going on that everybody's so far apart from everybody else? Is this unusual, like the Mercedes dominance and now a very clear Mercedes dominance and now a very clear Red Bull dominance? Is this unusual in 60 years of F1?
We'll say
or is this kind of just how it is? And that there's just somebody at the top and the fun stuff is from third place down.
Right.
Is that how it always is?
It hasn't always been that way. I would say that since Michael Schumacher that this has become the new normal. I mean, Red Bull had 4 years of dominance with Vettel. And then it went into 8 years of dominance, or 9, or no, 8. 8 years of dominance with Mercedes.
Okay. Interesting.
And then, and now we're in a new phase of Red Bull. But, you know, I think that one big thing that happened with this one is just that with the turbo hybrid introduction for what they were going to use as power units, going from V8s to turbo V6s with a hybrid unit, that was a huge adjustment, and Mercedes came out of the gates swinging.
Yeah.
Nobody had what Mercedes had when they started.
Yeah.
And that set them up for being able to just destroy. And so development from there was a lot easier because they had been winning like crazy. And I think that was kind of clear from their get-go of why they were so dominant over that period. I still think that Max winning a championship, whether or not you accept that championship, listeners, that first championship, I still think that was huge. to see a non-Mercedes car win one freaking championship
in the turbo hybrid era.
out of all of those years. In the new one, I don't think that Red Bull is going to be so dominant that no one will catch them. In the span of this year, it might be a challenge. But
we'll see.
It seems like the midfield is so close right now that all they have to do is just figure out a way to get the midfield closer to Red Bull.
Well, shifting gears, we want to talk about something that I am just stoked about, and that is Nico Hulkenberg coming back to Formula One into the Haas seat.
The Hulk.
So we wanted to do a deep dive into Nico for the rest of the episode because I don't really know a lot about Nico. Mike probably does.
I have done the research.
Parker, do you have any questions for Mike about Nico? Now's the time to see if Mike can get some points for the season. Does his strikes refresh this season?
Do those roll over? All right, Michael.
Michael.
When did Nico start racing? What age?
1997.
What age is that?
That's a great question.
He's older than me.
10.
When he was 10? A little late?
10.
He is my same age.
19. So he was born in 1987?
Yes.
So he's 10. So a little bit of a late bloomer.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. That's about like 3 years later than most.
Okay.
Take it away, Mike.
Yeah, so Hulkenberg started in karting. In 2002, he was the German junior karting champion. And then in 2003, he was just the German kart champ. So
wow, okay.
He won them back-to-back, the junior and then just the German kart championship.
That's impressive.
If you guys don't know this, Hulkenberg, as a blanket of maybe you've watched Drive to Survive or maybe you haven't, but Hulkenberg is considered one of the best drivers that hasn't had a podium, let alone a championship.
Right.
He's always had just the craziest stats. And so this one being one of them. I mean, he won 2 karting championships back-to-back. He was managed by Willy Weber, who was Michael Schumacher's manager. And so there was this tie to kind of being the next Michael Schumacher.
Because Nico Hulkenberg is German.
Correct.
Okay.
He's from Germany. And he's the one that gave him the nickname the Hulk.
Oh.
So back when he was a little guy.
Where does that come from? I was going to say, yeah, the Hulk.
Yeah, it's not a stretch.
Yeah. Good one, guy. Thanks for taking the credit.
Hulkenback is good because he keeps going and coming back.
Yeah.
Totally. Well, he won the Formula BMW championship, but they took it away from him.
Why?
Because some of the competitors said that he brake checked them under a safety car period. And because of that stunt, air quotes, they took away his championship.
Oh, that's stupid.
Kind of a little bit stupid.
Formula BMW, is that like a Formula 2?
It's like a lower tier.
Okay.
But still a Formula car.
Still moving up, getting championships.
Yep. Then he moved into an A1 German Grand Prix. And this is kind of an interesting thing. So this was like a team of drivers that will compete against each other in kind of a World Cup kind of tournament format.
Okay.
And then and then you would win as a country.
Okay.
And so, but here's the thing. He won all of the points for Germany, and then Germany won.
Oh, wow.
The championship. So
okay, cool.
It wasn't anybody else. He carried the entire team.
So very, very cool early career.
Correct. Moved on to Formula 3, won the European Formula 3 championship, moved to GP2, which is now F2, won the F2 championship.
This guy's just coming through with championships.
Uh-huh. And then he was signed as a reserve driver for Williams and was testing and doing all their background work, all the test driver things, and then was upgraded to driver of Williams in his rookie season. With Williams in his rookie year, in 2010, Hulk got a he got a pole position.
Okay, cool.
So he qualified pole
I mean, it's interesting to think that Williams was good recently.
at some point. That was 2010. So
Yeah.
13 years
The
ago.
end of it.
Jeez.
Yeah. On the 6th of November 2010,
Pole in
Nico
Brazil.
Hulkenberg got his first pole. So,
And then when did he go to
K-Mag and Hulk shared the same place for their first Formula One pole position.
And now they're best
Wow.
friends.
And now they're
They're
the
friends
two
again.
best friends that anyone could have.
So when did he go to Force India?
2011.
Oh, the next year.
So Williams,
He was there for a while.
well, so he switched back and forth a few times. So this is where things got a little bit crappy for his career. So despite having the pole, Frank Williams decided to not renew Nico Hulkenberg for another season, which is just the worst. A little later in this season, we're probably going to get into this, that I have ultimately decided that Williams is my least favorite team.
Yeah, we should do a deep into Williams.
And it's because of stunts like this. It just doesn't make sense. And so 2011, Nico is no longer on Williams, races for Force India for 11 and 12, switches to Sauber.
Alfa Romeo.
In 2013, they weren't Alpha back then.
Okay,
they were
okay.
just Sauber. And then switched back to Sahara Force India in
Jeez.
2014 and 15 and 16.
And then Renault.
And then was hired by Renault in 2017. Raced for them up until he was replaced by Esteban Ocon.
And this is kind of when I came
2020.
in and kind of learned about Nico Hulkenberg because he was teammates with Daniel Ricciardo. That was his last year.
Right.
And then it was recently, like, was it during the COVID era when someone got COVID and Nico came back
Right.
and just crushed it?
Yeah.
Yep.
And everyone was like, Nico is rad. And
Right.
the Hulkenback name kind of stuck.
Totally.
That's when I became a Nico Hulkenberg fan. I was like, this guy is rad.
He raced for Sergio Perez at Silverstone.
In the
During COVID.
Force India car.
Yeah, in the Racing Point.
BWT thing.
Yep.
Racing Point.
And so that was his big Hulkenback, and he got driver of the day.
That was rad.
And then
Was that the one where he crashed out though?
I think he had a bad strategy, and he didn't have the tires at the end of the race.
Oh, okay.
So he ended up finishing.
Did he get points?
Low.
I thought he came back one race and got like points.
Yeah.
7th, yeah.
He still ended up getting points.
Remember, because it was like a pretty bad year for.
He should have finished
Force India.
fourth. He was almost podium, and then had
That's
a
right.
bad tire strategy.
Suck, man.
So
He has a lot of bad luck.
He's
When
had
I
a
first got
lot
into
of bad
Formula
luck.
One and you were talking about Nico Hulkenberg, you're like, this guy just has the worst luck. He'll be so close to a podium, something weird happens,
right.
like a blown tire. Someone crashes into him.
He almost got a podium in Germany in 2017, 2018. Mm-hmm. It was the year that Mercedes had that like white paint that was stripped off or whatever, and both Valtteri and Lewis crashed in that race. And so front runners were taken out. Hulkenberg was like on pace for a podium, and then he crashed. So
No, that's the one I'm thinking of.
is that what you're thinking of?
Heartbreaker.
It's just the worst. Just the worst.
Heartbreaker. Yeah, that was one of the more heartbreaking moments I've ever seen in F1.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't his fault either. He got knocked by like one of the rookies.
I think he hydroplaned. I think he just hit a patch of water.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Shame.
So that's a brief history of Nico Hulkenberg. Like, why do you like him? Why do we like him?
I mean, I think that it goes without saying that his personality is pretty blunt. He's pretty funny in the sense that he is just really straightforward when he says things.
Yeah.
But also on track, it just is. He's a really good driver. He's no BS. He just kind of does he puts the car where it needs to be and just does his thing. But also, I think that like we were just talking about with the drivers in the top teams, right? Nico never got his shot. And we look at Sergio Perez, who was rescued from the abyss
Yeah.
by Christian Horner to be like, come play at the top team. And we knew the second that he was hired that he was going to win races
Yeah.
because he's just in the best car now.
Right.
Nico never had the opportunity. There was never a seat at Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull. Wasn't going to happen. And that's just the unfortunate nature of being an F1 driver is sometimes timing, just like on a lap. It's just not on your side. And so it just seemed like despite all of his talent, despite all of his ability, it just wasn't going to happen. So Haas calling him back, and what was cool about seeing it in Drive to Survive is that Alpine was also considering him. And so it wasn't just Gunter who was like pulling this wild hair out and being like, we're going to bring Nico back to F1. He was an option for a couple of teams.
Right.
And we're stoked that we got him.
Yeah.
And he's already proven it, right?
Yeah. I go back to kind of the conversation we had last season, go back and listen to it, about when we learned that Hulkenberg was coming to Haas, and the idea that Gunter is playing this game where it's like, let's get two really consistent point scorers, Kevin Magnussen and Hulkenberg.
Yeah. No
and
gambles.
No
just
gambles.
Two solid veteran drivers.
We don't have like the time or the money resources to be training a rookie like Mick.
Right.
Let's get someone who's going to be constantly scoring points and just move up the order of the
such a genius
WDC.
move.
Yeah.
It's such a good move.
Yeah.
And honestly, the other side of that as well is I think when we look at Kevin's personality versus Nico's, and I think that there's an interesting dynamic here. Kevin's a really solid race car driver. He's not going to be quiet about what he wants from the car. But I think you bring in Nico Hulkenberg, and he's going to know strategy, other elements of things that he's not just grateful to be there. And I think somewhat Kevin's in this space of just being like, look, man, I'm just here to race. I'm stoked.
Yeah.
I'm really happy I got another shot at this. But I could see Nico being like, I'm really happy I got another shot at this, but I really want it to work.
Yeah.
So let's make sure that we're doing this right.
Yeah.
And so I think that the team can massively benefit from Nico's approach, where they're benefiting from Kevin's in different dynamics.
Right.
So I think the two of them are just going to build a really strong team.
Killer team. Amazing debut weekend.
Another thing I like about Hulkenberg is he's won Le Mans. He's a Le Mans champion.
He is.
He won Le Mans?
Yeah, he's good.
Wait, what the heck?
Yeah.
I think it was with Porsche, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wait, that's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this guy is great, and it feels like we are so lucky that he's on Haas.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
So cool.
There's
So it's weird. It's like he hasn't gotten on a podium at F1, but he's won Le Mans.
The other biggest
huge
race.
thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what's bigger than Le Mans? Seriously,
It's
like
a part of the Triple Crown,
500?
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like Indy 500,
Or Indy 500.
Le Mans.
Monaco, and Le Mans. So he's won one of them,
Yeah.
which
That's
is
crazy. It's crazy.
which is also equal to Fernando Alonso.
Wait, Nico's like
I guess
the
Fernando's won
coolest
Monaco.
guy on the grid right now, except for like Alonso.
Yeah.
He's like one of the coolest guys on the
Alonso,
grid.
Lance, Oscar Piastri. 3 coolest guys.
Yeah, very cool guys.
One guy
all
is
those.
like, just spicy, sexy Spanish guy.
Yeah.
One guy's like a bland poutine bucket. And Oscar Piastri's just a
he's just a wet,
bowl of
floppy
oatmeal.
bowl of
Wheat
oatmeal.
Bix. This is Wheat
Just
Bix.
soggy
that's
Wheat Bix.
been sitting in milk for 6 days.
Coolest guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, as a quick note to that,
Yeah.
we talked about this in an Instagram reel, but I don't think we talked about it on the podcast. We've been asking this for weeks, for episodes. Who is replacing Daniel as the class clown?
I have an answer.
We know who it is now.
Yeah. And it's shocking.
It is shocking. None of us
Do you know
expected
Parker?
Wait, I haven't heard this question.
It was a listener. His name's Josh Smith. He sent this to me, and we've been talking about it. And then I brought it up with Mike when we were hanging out, and I was like, and he thought of it too.
Who's the new class clown?
Yeah.
Like the cool class,
But like he's cool.
Probably Pierre.
No. You ready
So
for
okay,
it?
wait. So Pierre, I don't think he's that funny, but he's cool and he's like easy,
Yeah.
and that's why I like Pierre.
Gas
and I've
is-
already told
Gas
you
is
that
cool.
I like Pierre.
He's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would hang out with him. So let's see, who is the new class clown?
Class clown, cool guy.
And also just
Wait,
king.
class
He's
clown,
just the new king.
cool guy, king.
Yeah.
So Magnussen is
It's like
cool, but he's not
60%
that
cool
funny.
guy, 10% king, maybe like 30% funny guy.
Yeah.
Oh, George Russell. It's when you said king and cool guy that I was like, oh, that's George with a big capital G.
All right, should we tell him? Should we
Wait.
tell him?
It is, Valtteri Bottas.
It's Bottas.
Dude.
He's the
He is
new
not
guy.
funny.
In the
He's
off
new guy.
season,
Not funny.
he did this ugly mullet cut. he's like gone really gross bogan Australian vibes.
It's the
That's
best.
not funny.
He has
it's incredible.
He has a helmet that's like based off of his head, so it looks like it has
Ears?
his dirty mullet, and it's like his face
and a
Wait,
mustache.
what is
And
happening?
he's been just slinging beer and being like cool and
just
wearing
being
short
really
shorts and
mellow
like.
and rad.
This is going to take a long time for me to get on this
So,
boat.
but like I believe it. It is, yeah.
We'll share with you.
That's why we thought it was
the good
crazy.
news.
All right, keep convincing me throughout
Okay.
the season. We'll see if I
Well,
get
we'll
there.
see if he can keep it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as far as we're concerned,
he's-
the new cool Aussie on the grid is Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah, it is not Oscar.
Who's not Australian.
No,
The only thing I can see with Valtteri is him just is the team telling him slow down for Lewis to pass, and him being like, okay.
that's what I'm saying. He switched teams, and all of a sudden he's found his mojo.
Well, I am stoked about Nico. Any final
Yeah.
words on Nico?
We'll keep on exploring Nico Hulkenberg. I feel like there's more to discover with that guy.
We're going to see some good performance out of him.
Yeah, and
Definitely.
we'll
He's done
bring
it so far.
We'll bring in some more history of Nico throughout this season.
Yeah.
because he might be the coolest guy in F1.
Yeah.
And in contrast, we started this podcast with two drivers that we were, really trying to
crying
find some
about.
nice things to say.
Mick is
Yeah.
cool. Mick was cool.
Mick was awesome, but Nikita was rough.
Yeah,
by
but he wasn't
comparison.
that good.
Yeah.
God
Yeah.
bless him, he's not
Yeah.
that good.
He might still be good, but right
Yeah.
now we didn't need him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't need him.
So we're stoked.
We got consistency on our side for sure now.
Yeah.
Gosh, we really picked the right team.
Yeah.
Loving
Hope you
it.
guys
Thanks for joining us.
listening have all picked the right team too. Listen to the Haas Boys.
Yeah.
Follow us on everywhere. Please give us a good rating. Email us at dashaasboys@gmail or follow us on Instagram.
Also, we are releasing a video version of the podcast now.
That's
Every
correct.
week?
Every week on YouTube.
Wow.
YouTube.com.
Who's producing that?
I don't know. Some
Some amazing.
We hired another full team of producers.
Yeah.
Full
To do
team of
that.
interns.
It's
to
just
do the video?
yeah,
the videos.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
all-
What is that costing us?
Dozens of
Top-
experience hours.
Thousands of experience hours.
Doll hairs.
Okay, good.
Few doll
good,
hairs.
good.
So
I'm
yeah,
here to spend that money.
Check it all out and please follow us, tell your friends, and we will talk to you next week.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Peace.
Bye.
One small
Podcast.
for man,
I'm speaking for the man who doesn't know Formula One.
Can you play Lizzo on those
AirPods you got there?
AirPods.